If you've been playing Splinterlands, you might be freaking out seeing something like the DEC price of this trend line right here. So today I'm going to explain why this is happening. Maybe even should you buy DEC for the SPS airdrop? Is it worth it at all at this point? So let me explain some things. Stay tuned. Hello, hola, como esta? My name is Luke, and I'm here to help the small investors, the krills of the world, the whale world of crypto, to play to earn. And today we're talking about Splinterlands once again, and the DEC crisis. You know, we've seen this coin pump like crazy, and it's come back down. And if you're not familiar with how this game works, you might be panicked or worried or think Splinterlands is dead. Now, some of the token huge price drop off, yes, maybe that's because Splinterlands has lost a little hype. They've been in a little bit of a lull. A lot of features have been delayed, and there aren't a bunch of new players, at least right now. So in that sense, yeah, there's probably less demand. But really, if you talk to any player that's been here for a long time in the Splinterlands universe, they know DEC was never supposed to get this high. It was really what the team said was a mistake, weighting it too heavy for the SPS airdrop. And then when people wanted to get SPS instead of buying it, they said, oh, I'm just going to buy up a bunch of DEC because that's cheaper than buying the SPS. I'm going to get an SPS airdrop to me for an entire year long, so might as well just hold a bunch of DEC. So you probably had whales here with millions of DEC, maybe even putting it in liquidity pools to earn the double airdrop points. And now, as the airdrop has gotten closer to an end, we only have 113 days left as of recording this video. You can see it must be some of these whales, some of these people holding a lot of DC, finally getting rid of it. Now, while you think this is bad, really when I've heard Splinterlands Town Hall, especially Matt talk about it, really DEC is supposed to be more of a stablecoin, a peg, a constant reward that you can know and rely on at that 0.001 value. And they say, hey, it's, you know, if it goes below that, we're going to back it up with our products. So let's say the packs that are out for now for Chaos Legion, you can buy those at 4,000 DEC, no matter if DEC is at double its peg or if it falls under, you know, you can just go buy up that DEC, use that to buy the pack. And essentially you're now buying discounted packs for, you know, $3.50 or $3. So I've known some people to say, hey, maybe DEC will go back up. But in my mind, this huge trend line isn't actually that worrying to me. More so, I think this is actually what should be expected with the airdrop getting closer and closer to its end and SPS price being so low itself right now. So obviously I'm not a whale, as I said, but let's just try to jump into the mind of a whale here and think about, okay, if we had a million DEC back here on March 15th, a couple weeks ago, when DEC was 0.003 value. Now, if we had that much DEC at that time, it would have been worth $3,000. Perhaps we had it in a liquidity pool because we already had a bunch of SPS from the airdrop. We were just pairing it up so we can get double the points. At the end of the airdrop, we would have had 20,492 SPS from that March 15th date. Here you can see based on current SPS value, that would have been $2,342 worth of SPS. If you add that to the DEC you'd be left over with, and that DEC by the end of the airdrop, like most people are predicting, fell to 0.01 peg or even lower, then your value would be $3,342. And then if you have that leftover DEC, and let's say DEC fell back to peg like a lot of people are predicting, you'd be left with $3,342 plus the SPS in the liquidity pool, you'd have over $6,000. So at this point, when DEC is at 0.003 cents of value, I have a million of it. I have a couple options. I can continue to just leave it in the liquidity pool, get that SPS airdrop to me, or what I could do is take that million DEC out. I could take my SPS out of the liquidity pool as well, and then I could stake that SPS, get 2,605 SPS throughout the rest of the airdrop just by the current APR stakings. I could also get 208 vouchers added to me, which based on current market value would be about $3,505. And that's just with staking that 50% of the pool of the SPS I have now. Then I could take that million DEC, and at that time, I could have bought probably around 570,000 card power worth of cards, which the airdrop would be about 5,840 and the airdrop value that. So you can see if I converted all that DEC to cards, I would still have about a fourth of the airdrop, and I could also just stake my SPS. And if you combine those together, you actually come out better than you would have if you just held that DEC in the liquidity pool. Now, of course, that is also taking into account that you think the card value is going to stay the same or at least drop less than the DEC would. Of course, we've seen card prices as supply is continuing to increase drop, but I think at this point, most people would say card value is going to probably maintain itself better than DEC did when it was 0.003. Or heck, at that time, you could have just converted that DEC, and because SPS is so cheap, if you converted that DEC to SPS and added the other half from your liquidity pool, you'd be up now at 52,000, which is more than you would have gotten with the liquidity half plus the SPS airdrop. Even at the end of the airdrop, if you had that 20,000 plus your 26,000, and then you converted all your DEC, let's say at 0.001, let's say it didn't fall below the peg, that would still only be an additional 8,749 SPS at current prices. So if you just staked the SPS that you had, if you converted your DEC at 0.003, you're going to earn more with the SPS staking plus the SPS you already staked. And then you're also going to earn 417 potential dollars of vouchers, or who knows, maybe voucher spikes at some point as well, and that's, worth $800 or $1,200, who knows. So either way, if on around March 15th, before this thing really fell down here in prices and started to go even further down to now where we're at 0.00168, if I was a whale with that much DEC, at that point, I'm like, okay, there's probably not enough of the SPS airdrop, especially with SPS price being so low, that it's worth it to keep holding on to this DEC. So I'm thinking, personally, again, I don't know, but I'm guessing a lot of whales probably exited out of their DEC at this point. It held here since January, and now as we get closer to the SPS airdrop, it's collapsing. Now, the one thing that could turn around DEC from falling to peg until the airdrop ends is if SPS price potentially goes up, then it still might be worth it to go buy up DEC at this point instead of buying just straight up SPS and staking it. So to show you what I mean, let's go give some examples of if you had to spend either right now $25, $100, or $1,000, if you did it in DEC versus SPS, what would your results be? Now, because DEC is so cheap right now, if you spent $25, you're going to get through even right now with the only remaining SPS airdrop of 113 days, you're still going to get 126, or $100 spent is going to get you 504, or $1,000, 5,043. Now, another interesting thing is, since I did this about 50 days ago, you can actually see that the prices are relatively the same. If you put in $25, you'd come out with $40, and $100, you'd come out with $163. So that number actually hasn't fallen too much because DEC price being so low, even though there's less airdrop to go, you can buy much more DEC for the same amount of money. Now, here's the thing though, you could also just right now say you wanted more SPS. Instead of buying DEC for the SPS airdrop, you can of course just go out and buy the SPS, and at the current price of 11 cents 0.4, you could go get it 219 SPS for $25. 100 would be 875, and for $1,000 you can get 8,749. Then if you go out and stake it, and let's say it stays relatively the same APR, you can use the Splinter Cards tool to see how much SPS you'd get throughout the stake, and I just calculated it not for the rest of the year, but just towards the end of the airdrop for another 113 days, and then at the end of the airdrop, this is the amount of SPS that you'd have left over. Now, right off the bat, you can see that if you just went out and bought SPS and staked it, you're going to end up with more SPS at the end of the airdrop compared to if you buy the DEC. Of course, if DEC does follow the peg 0.001, and let's say you wanted to convert it to SPS when it gets to that point, as long as it's still at its peg and not under its peg, then you'd be able to convert that DEC to 129 SPS for the $25 amount, 516 for the $100 amount. So if you combine these two numbers in these two columns, they're almost exact, not quite. You're getting a slightly less than the SPS, but this is assuming that by the end of the airdrop, DEC is still at 0.001. Again, if it fell below, you'll be able to use it to buy packs and stuff, and it should move it towards the peg. But again, if you're just converting it to SPS, you don't get to use the peg if it falls underneath it. So since those numbers are so close, and there is the risk of DEC falling even below the peg, of course, there is the potential upside if somehow DEC stayed above peg, you'd be even doing better than that. But with how much DEC is on the market and how much people are probably holding it and now getting rid of it, it makes me a little concerned that at these prices, I personally still would probably just rather buy SPS and stake it unless you're going to put it in the liquidity pools. Then, of course, you come out on top with more SPS at the end of the airdrop plus the DEC that you could use to buy up SPS. Not only that, but if you stake the SPS, you're earning at least a little bit of vouchers, and right now they're not worth a ton, but let's say, you know, something else promotional comes out like we saw with Waka, or Rift Watchers hit and we need vouchers, we could see that token price also spike a bit. So you kind of mitigate the risk of holding DEC. And if you're just coming out on, you know, even footing here without using the liquidity pool, I'd rather just buy SPS, stake it, have similar amounts, and then also earn vouchers on top of that. Now, as I said earlier in the video, there may be one thing that DEC could pump for, and it's if SPS started to go back up in price. So, you know, just calculating out if SPS went to 20 cents or if it went to 30 cents, of course, then SPS is more expensive. So if you just try to spend your money buying SPS, instead of getting the $219 for your $25, now you're stuck at 125. Or if SPS was more expensive at 30 cents, you'd only be getting 83 SPS. Meaning, of course, you're going to get less in your stakings, you're going to get less by the end of the airdrop, and you're going to get less vouchers earned. So let's say SPS went to 20 cents, then you now have the option, oh, I can buy up DC, hold it for the rest of the airdrop, and then all of a sudden I'm getting the same amount of SPS that I would have gotten if I just bought it. And then I also have the DC left over even if it falls to peg, or I could put it in a liquidity pool and get double the amount of SPS I would have gotten. Same thing if it hits 30 cents. Then of course, if SPS was 30 cents right now, you'd still see people buying up DEC at these prices because you'd be getting a lot more SPS airdrop than what you'd be doing just buying it up and staking it. Of course, these numbers would change because if SPS hits 20 cents and 30 cents, it's probably not today or tomorrow, right? It could be weeks or months, or who knows, maybe it doesn't hit it during the airdrop. But if it does, then there would be less SPS airdrop days, so maybe the DEC price wouldn't go as high. It just depends on when and if the SPS price pumps. Wowzers, that was a lot of math, so someone please go double check, see if I got that right or not. But hopefully, really just the point of this whole video is just to illustrate why I think some whales are liquidating their DEC and had changed it for SPS or cards maybe, or moved it somewhere else. And why, you know, if SPS doesn't pump and pump soon, the DEC price is probably likely to stay somewhere around where it is. And again, as it gets closer to the SPS airdrop ending, my bet is we're going to see it near the peg. And again, I think that's going to be okay. You might think, oh, well, Splinterlands is screwed. Actually, that's what DEC is more so intended for. And I think for Krills, if it does fall below peg, we get cheaper packs, we get better entries into this game. And earning SPS is the real earnings of this game. So don't focus too much on DEC and the price of DEC. If you see it falling back to the peg, you see the red numbers, it's going to be okay. Focus more on getting the SPS, the governance token. That's really what you want to be holding anyways. So again, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully this crazy math problem was somewhat helpful for you in explaining what's going on. And again, let me know if I got something wrong, or if in the comments below you have different thoughts than I would love to hear it and discuss it there as well as Discord. For now, peace out, Paul. Adios.